And that leads us nicely into the City game. I mean, let me just tell you right now, no spoilers, Kevin De Bruyne is going to be fit. He's going to play. I mean, just don't fall for the nonsense. He's going to be fit. He's going to play. Clive, City have looked so good and so dangerous in all of their games. They really, really have. This is not slow start City. They have looked fantastic. And even in the inner game, while I think they got turned around and transitioned on quite effectively, they created a mountain of very good chances they just didn't take. Inter rode their luck. And that's a very good Inter Milan team. We are going to have to be at our best just to get a draw out of this. But if anything, if Mikel can do anything, we know he can rock up to the Etihad and turn this into a game that people wish they had the 2 hours of their life back. And I imagine that that's exactly what he's going to want to do. A little bit harder with our current midfield options, I'd say. So go ahead. You find me a lineup of players who are going to be fit enough for the work it's going to take and the concentration off the ball it's going to take to just try to find us the 1 or 2 moments we can turn City around and hopefully have a chance to hit them on the counter, but stay organized and not let a devastating number of powerful attacking options find their way through us. What are you going to do?
Yeah, first things first, I want us to play the Spurs system. I like that system. I like what it gave us. I think it gave us enough go forward, and I also liked how we looked off the ball. I liked it, and I could see relationships. So I like that. So back four, I think I'm not worried who plays left back, Elliot. I think they play Savinho on the right hand side probably. They won't play Doku off the right. I think he's a decent player, but he's young. We could play Calafiori if Timber's carrying a little bit, but I'm not sure he is. So I'd probably go for the same back four against Spurs, probably. I don't think it's a time to rest Ben White. Why should we? At this moment in time, we knows our system doesn't make sense. The midfield too, Rice will obviously play. It's whether it's Partey or Jorginho. They're going to share the game. Honestly, I don't care. As long as they play as a partnership, that's the most important thing. And for the front two, for the wide men, I would go Saka and Martinelli. I think it's important to threaten City. You've got to threaten them in transitions, defensive and attacking transitions. So I think it's important to have those legs. How we end the game is different. And at the moment, the two that I like together in the central, in the interior, at the top end of the pitch is Havertz and Trossard. I think they're the most symbiotic partnership. If I wanted to throw a spanner in the works, I might play Jesus off the left, but I don't think he did enough yesterday to tell me he should play off the left. It's an idea I have in my head, but I'm not sure I want to test it there. So yeah, that's how I would go. And for me, it's not the selection so much. I think most of it is easy. It's how we play. I don't want to play with distant eights up the pitch and 5 from the line. I don't think this is a game for that. City more or less play a back three. Rico Lewis dropping. I'm not sure they're going to do that. Kyle Walker's sitting there rubbing his legs, ready to come in and give them stability on that right hand side. So if they do that, we're going to have the ability to impact them turning around. If we don't, we might as well just sit there behind the set with our hands over our eyes. And I'm not sure we should be doing that. So that's how I would go. That's the best I've seen so far, relationship wise. And I think we have got the ability to, I thought we did it yesterday really well, actually. When we made substitutions, I didn't feel we dropped. I felt they came on and kept our level. So, we made substitution at Bayern. I felt we dropped. Our level dropped. In this game, I'm thinking, we're all right. These guys have added something. They've added a bit of business-like approach, and they're not scared of the ball, and they want to make an impression. And so that's really important as well, that you've got to get into us twice, So, that's how I'd go. How'd you go?
You wouldn't go back 5, huh?
I've thought about it. What we tend to do is have a narrow back four and almost and then the 6 drops in to make a 5, and then we have a 3-2. Do you know what I mean? That's what Inter did, by the way, and it was very successful. Like a 5-3-2. They started with a stick on 5. If we were to do a stick on 5 and use Calafiori as a left centre back and then use Timber as a left wing back per se, and White as a wing back. It wouldn't bother. I love that system, Eddie. It wouldn't bother me, But I can only say on what I've seen in the last couple of games. We had the block for the 2x2 against Spurs, a little bit of both systems against Atalanta. Against City, do we go 5? Mate, I'd like to see it. It wouldn't bother me at all because the principles are the same. We just have different actors playing on the play.
Yeah, I think I would. I don't usually like it, but I think I would. And I think that's because I think now with Calafiori, I think what we can do is White, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, and Timber.
Yeah.
You only then have to pick one central midfielder, really, and you can pick Declan Rice, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want, you can pick Jorginho and Rice. I don't know. I don't know what I think about choosing Partey for this game, but if it's Partey, again, with the legs having whatever they've got in them at the moment, maybe it's Partey and Rice. And then you can play Kai, Martinelli, and Saka. You can spring and you have Kai at 9, which is where we want him. He can still be the out ball. He can be the long ball. Rice can play in a position where he's a little more comfortable. And by the way, if he can stride out a little bit, just a little bit, and play in Martinelli running behind, he has that big distance ball in him, I think. And you can tuck them in. You can get Timber right in there next to Calafiori, and you can get White, kind of closer to Saliba or Gabriel, which it'd be Saliba or Gabriel, I guess, central. And just try to cut out those half spaces that City are so ruthless at finding, right? Where they can cut back to Haaland or chop it, back post to Haaland, stand up across whatever it is. And I think we can really protect our goal that way, but I do think that we can spring. I really think we can spring with that group, and Calafiori can stride out, and I think we'd see that. And so in possession, you can still build in a 3-2, by the way, right? You could build in a 3-2 shape. It's just that you have Rice next to either White or Rice next to Timber or Rice next to Calafiori, right? Can be your 3-2. And then, up the pitch, you're fine. You got Kai, Saka, and Martinelli. And if you need to change it late, you can, but that's probably what I would do. What do you think?
Yeah, I hear where you're going. I think for me, it's important that we have a narrow back four. My little worry about playing Timber in this game, just a little worry, is keeping that 6'5" monster off the back post for headers. Inverted crosses to the back post. We have got a keeper that comes and gets that stuff. But that's the only little worry. Again, just thinking about game scenarios, not anything to do with performance. But yeah, I think it's important to keep a narrow back four, but engage them at the edge of the area rather than have 5 already in, because you naturally then fall in. I don't know if you remember what Conte Spurs did against us in the home game. They all fell into their box. And what happened? We scored from the edge of the area, because they were too much into their box. And I think it's important that we engage them. We engage them a little bit higher than the last line. So I like a narrow 4 with our wingers as auxiliary fullbacks. I saw a stat on Sky yesterday saying, on average, Arsenal behind the ball players number is like 5.98, which is the highest in the league, that we get behind the ball quickly, which basically means we're playing with 6 behind the ball a lot of the time. So I think that's important that's an important platform for us. So I just go with my back forward and make sure they control the half spaces and my wingers control the people travelling on the outside. We did that at Spurs towards the end and it worked really, really well. It stopped them completely stone dead. So yeah, I see a similar scenario, but I do think when we do build, and I'm going to say this with a little, say that I do think if Gundogan plays and De Bruyne plays, they're great going forward, but they're not so good running backwards. Foden's not really a good defender.
That's what Rodri's for.
Yeah, but he can't cover everything, mate. He can't cover everything.
Can't he?
Well, I really feel
might they go for Rodri and Kovacic both in this game? Might they?
They might, and that's how they've controlled us. They're not stupid. We can move. We can travel. Yeah. If you go Rodri on his own, yeah, well, They have a back four basically. They defended a back four diamond. So
I can't pick 3 midfielders for Arsenal that I want to play in this game. I don't want to play Kai at midfield. I don't want to play Rice at 8. And I don't want to play Jorginho and Partey against City. So I can't pick a midfield I like. Yeah. But if I pick a 5, I can play Kai at 9. I don't have to pick both Jorginho and Partey. By the way, if you want to play a 4-4-2 out of possession, if you want the block to be a 4-4-2, you can have Calafiori stand next to Rice, or you can have Timber stand next to Rice and still be in a 4-4-2. You know what I mean?
You can do lots of things, Elliot. I think
literally.
I think at the moment we're not really playing 3 midfielders. We're playing 2, and we're playing 2 false 9s. So that's how I envisage it going. And then they become the 2 forwards in our 4-4-2 if we're trying to move and get hold of them. So I'm not really worried about that. I think the most important thing is our distances really, and knowing when someone moves out of the shade that we move somebody else in. That's the key. I want to see Rice settle into that position. The thing about Partey and Jorginho, we sort of know what they have and what they haven't got, and I think that's really key. The only thing I don't like about them is when they get sloppy and just get moved. But if they get moved, we've got other people behind them get around them. Martinelli does a lot of work to support them. So does Saka, and so does Timber, particularly on that side. So I'm not overly worried. We must have the ability to play football. We can't just pick all the defenders. We have to have the ability to play football, because otherwise it just won't be a 2-way game. And so yeah, we mustn't be scared of our own shadow. It's only September. No, but I don't think we have to veer too far away from the Spurs plan, where we had enough offensive play. I know it's a set piece goal, but we created enough in that game to make me think this could work. But I do think the challenge for us offensively is what you alluded to earlier. The challenge for us is in the next set of games. What Arsenal do we want to be then? Because they're Odegaard's game. They're on the ball games, right? And we've just we've taken out 60 passes out of our team, right? So what are we going to do then, mate? That's going to be the podcast for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. We rewatched the second half of the Spurs game, Clive, and we saw it. There was pockets of space behind Jorginho, between Gabriel and Timber, that Spurs couldn't attack because they're shit. And I just think those pockets of space, we've got to find ways to close those up a little bit, because City will hurt you in those spaces if you give it to them. So maybe I'm thinking a little too defensively here. I do think this is a game where we have to be resolute and transition. The one thing we can't do is we can't defend 18 yards from our goal for 90 minutes. I don't think that's a realistic way to get out of there with even a point. I mean, I know we can do it. So we have to find a way to be protagonists in periods and moments in the game. The problem for me is just without Odegaard, without Marino, with the players we have available, with the passes we've been giving away, maybe this is why it's in my mind. Mikel has talked for 2 consecutive games now about us just misplacing small little passes. And Klopp had a really good quote once about City. He said, they can make you uncomfortable playing your football to where you're just kicking it aimlessly long up the pitch and you get sucked too deep. And this was after a game where they'd come back, I think, to draw, maybe even away. And he said, in the second half, we found our game a little bit more. You have to be able to stick to your game. And I think that's the thing. We've given away such simple short passes in the last 2 games sloppily. We certainly can't do that. We've shown we have an ability to exit long. We might need that, because I think City can get turned around and hit on the run. I'd be fine playing over their press, but then we have to have the ability to expand the accordion and push up a little bit and keep them away from our goal a bit. But if we do that, especially if De Bruyne plays, I worry about not the Etihad game last season, but the season before, where they found the pockets of space behind our midfield. De Bruyne just killed us in there. And so, it's move and counter move.
Team.
Yeah, different team.
We played Rob Holding in that game, mate. So we have to move on. We've got the best centre-back pairing in the world at the moment playing for Arsenal Football Club. They're not going to let those things happen, right? So they're going to talk our players around. So I'm not so much worried about that. I think I know you're a natural warrior. So there was 2 occasions that we got run down the right, so our left-hand side half space. But again, that was just down to tiredness on the day, and we fixed it really quickly. Obviously, if that happens against City, we may not get the chance to fix it. he might be in our net,
Yeah.
right? So, but we also got to make sure we protect our middle, which we did really, really well. Whatever you do in the half space, you're coming back somewhere. Yeah, you're coming back into the middle, right? And so that's the bit that we really focused on. That's what people need to realize what's happening in this game. And that's why certain people are playing. We're protecting that penalty spot. The problems that we have is when we get pulled out into those wide areas, when people run through with third man runs. That's the only thing I've seen that's hurt us a little bit. It cost us a penalty. It cost us 2 Kulusevski advances and a couple of corners, because we blocked the middle. But, mate, apart from one game against Brighton, okay, we were lucky with the penalty, you could say, but the goal against Brighton, if we'd adjusted quicker, they wouldn't have scored. We should have adjusted quicker. And we'd be sitting there with 0 goals conceded. And so we are a bunch of warriors. But there are City fans, and I've been looking around, they're asking themselves, have Arsenal got our number? Because they don't create chances against us. So they're coming in with their 6'5" monster, fully fit, rested, ready to go. Inter stopped him, right? So I haven't seen all the chances, Elliot. Maybe you've got a different view to me. I haven't seen all the City chances, but Inter stopped him.
They had big chances.
Yeah, and
they had some big chances.
So I haven't got that picture in my mind. So apologies to the listener if I'm misreading that game. But the bits that I saw live, I was really encouraged. About how they transitioned up. Barella was excellent, and what they did. I thought, we can do that. We can travel. And I think Pep's worried about that. They'll counter foul. They'll do what they normally do. But let's see how we go. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm less stressed than I am for Spurs, for example. Spurs, there's too much on it, mate. I know.
I understand that. Yeah. This is. I have no problem saying this. I think this is currently the hardest fixture in world football, and I think you go there. You can't say free hit, because if you want to win the title, you have to try to find a way to get 4 points off City. I think 3 points off City is a minimum. It's a minimum. I guess you could say 2 points. If you could draw both games, you can win one and lose one. You cannot lose at the Etihad and not take 3 at the Emirates. So if you want to beat City to the title, this is one of the fixtures you have to find a way to get something from at a minimum. But it's not fatal, and it's not a game people are going to go expecting you to do something versus the derby where you can't. You got to beat that lot. So I take your point there. I think the way I'd go into this game is I'd say we are lacking the technical level we might like to have with Odegaard out, with fatigue from 2 big away games from playing Thursday, Sunday. So let's go out physical them. And that's why I would get Rice and Timber and Calafiori and Saliba and Gabriel and White, right? I'd get them in there, and Kai at 9 and be big and be muscular and be
like
physical and have well, because you know what? We are not constructed currently with the fit players we have and the rest that we're on and the age of our midfielders. We are not currently constructed to out technical this team, unfortunately. So I would say don't try. Out physical this team, win every duel, be stronger all over the pitch. They're going to have their little 8s. It might be De Bruyne and Gundogan. It might be Silva and Gundogan if somehow De Bruyne doesn't start the game. Put Calafiori and Rice in their face and, have them lose every physical battle and then spring with Martinelli and Saka. I would go for that. Spring to Kai, who can hold it up and play them in. I would go for that. And see where that takes you, because at the moment, I just don't think the technical level, the agility of the midfielders we can select otherwise, I don't think it's right. So that's just my point, my thought. We can also change it. I don't think this is a game for starting a 17-year-old, by the way, for people who are saying, why haven't you mentioned Nwaneri yet? Start him against Bolton midweek, see what he gives you there, bring him up the ladder slowly. He will be a player for us, no question, but, give him the chance to develop organically. So let's just quickly get final thoughts on how you see this game going.
Like I say, I'm not as scared as I am against Spurs. I'm not saying it's a free hit, but we've gone away to Villa, Spurs, and we're sitting there with 6 points. So it feels okay, whatever happens here. I think the most important game to win is the home game. If you ask me what I worry about with Arsenal is when we're dominating team, when we're at home, do we maximise that domination? We've seen a lot of big away day scores. I want to see more home day big scores. I think we have something We have to get overcome this. Yeah, I'm not saying we have a problem because we win most games, most weeks, but I want to see us in those home games when they come up against the big teams. Can we really make sure we deliver? We did last year against Liverpool, City, Man United. We need to keep doing that under pressure when people are really coming for us with the expectation that we're going to be going for the championship. Can we beat City at home in the second game? Because if we had those 4 points last season, but the other way around, I wonder what they've done for us psychologically in the running. So and Pep said today, the next game we play against Arsenal is the most important one. He gets it. Mm. He understands what a running is. This, I would take a draw right now, Elliot. Now. So it's not because I don't believe we can win, just because I'm just looking at the course of the season. The Champions League is going to be a big sort of cloud over our season. We don't know what it is. I don't mean that in a negative way, cloud. We don't know the impact the Champions League is going to have on the league, particularly later in the competition when we need to get results and how that's going to affect the league games. And so all these people saying, this player's not doing it, this player's not doing it, he's washed, he needs to go, blah, blah. We got too many games for that. We gotta make sure all these players feel included. Pep won his first couple of games. He played Brentford. I think he was at home. He's 1-0 down after a minute. He made 3 or 4 changes. You know why? He needs an active squad. He knows he needs an active squad. That's what we need to get to. Now, some of those rotations have been taken away by injury. So we've got an active squad. But wait till we get some of those people back. We'll have a real squad of depth, and then we can have those rotation discussions, which I know you love.
Yeah. Yep. Look, we are very, very good. And some of the hand-wringing out there, I understand it in light of what the attack looks like, in light of the injuries, in light of, how we're making do in midfield. But even despite that, in a very, very difficult start to the season, we produced very good results. The only result that I don't love is the one that was taken from us by a referee. And I'll end on this. It was like watching a different sport on Thursday because the ref wasn't the story. I think the penalty is the right call. He was really good. Every call, he was in control of it. He didn't make himself the story. When there was a little argy-bargy, he didn't feel the need to get in and call everybody over. Kai was involved in a couple of challenges against, who was it? That one guy seemingly kept fouling. But there was really nothing in it. The guy was going to ground a lot, and he didn't show Kai a yellow. And I just think, I'm thinking about how a Premier League ref would have handled that game, and it would have been, well, Kai's been involved in too much stuff. I got to show him the card just, because he's been involved in stuff. And, I've got to bring the players together and tell them off. And like, it was so nice. I hardly noticed him. And there was a penalty in the game. And even then, I just kind of hardly noticed him. More than anything, I loved a game where the ref didn't feel like the main character. And I really hope we're not in any way talking about that at the weekend. But Howard Webb has seemingly decided that the ref story is part of the entertainment in the Premier League, and he's willing to ratchet it up. And who asked for this? No one asked for this. So I hope it's not what we're talking about on Sunday. That's all. Good enough?
Well said, mate. And that's good enough. And now I can start to prepare myself mentally for a traumatic Sunday.
It's not a fun game. It's not a fun game. It won't be a fun game. It'll be an eye-bleeding watch no matter what. And you just hope that what you're rewarded for that 2 hours of misery is something that we can be talking positively about on Monday. We'll have an instant reaction live at full time on Sunday. Maybe a rewatch next week if it's worth it. We're going to have the chance to hopefully watch a very exciting youthful team play Bolton next week. So that'll be fun. And then the fixtures start to turn around, and we will be able to wring our hands about the stuff I love, the attack. Where's the attack? Where are the goals? Where's that coming from? Because that part of the season is kicking off. So thanks so much for joining us for this. Thursday football means Friday afternoon pods. And I'm sorry that's what we got for you, but we'll be back on our regular schedule next week. We love you. And here comes the phrase that is almost certainly going to come true. We will talk to you after Arsenal 10, City 0.